All right, so today we have a clip here of Michael Knowles saying that of all the things, white people are not racist.
And white people generally are the least racist people on earth. I mean that in a very technical way.
Yes.
There have been studies of racial consciousness. White people have the lowest racial consciousness by a country mile. Every other race of people has a much higher racial consciousness.
Okay, so the first thing that I need to say is Michael Knowles said that white people have the lowest racial consciousness out of any race, and that there's studies that back that up. There are not studies that back that up, and the term racial consciousness, he's not using that term correctly at all. I don't know if he knows what racial consciousness actually means. It doesn't mean what he thinks it means or what he's trying to say it means, that like you don't think about like race or skin color if you're a white person. That's not what racial consciousness is, and there's no studies backing up what he said. It doesn't matter how far down Google you look. It doesn't matter where you go on JSTOR to find a scientific study. It's just not true. Okay? But if we are gonna examine his claim of racial consciousness, really what racial consciousness is, at least in uh, our society, is usually race consciousness is employed in public policy, and it aims to improve the life of racial minorities. I know that I'm using Wikipedia here, but I just thought that it was the best blanket definition of what race consciousness actually is. Okay, it's not being aware of other people's races or anything like that. It's being aware that there is systemic racism against people of color, mainly again African American people, and there have been race conscious policies employed uh, in our our society many times. Desegregating schools, stuff like that. But Michael Knowles, his claim that there's studies that show that white people have the lowest racial consciousness. That's not what racial consciousness is. It's not like you don't measure it like that. That's not. He's not right about that at all.
Much higher in-group preference.
There's just He's just saying random shit.
White people just are not racist. You can say whatever you want about white people.
No.
You can say they have bad taste in music, their food isn't spicy enough, but you can't say they're racist.
You can't say white people are racist, but my question to Michael would be, if you can't say that white people are racist, then how come black people didn't have the right to vote until they passed the 15th Amendment, and the later half of the 1800s, like 1869, why were black people segregated against in our country? They fucking had to go to different schools. They had to use different fucking public areas. So is he telling me that it was black people that wanted to segregate themselves from the white people and use shit that was worse than what the white people had? It was the black people that enslaved the black people? Who did all of that stuff? How did the systemic racism against black people, how did that get to where it's at? The black people did it? Is that what he's saying? What does he mean? White people are racist. Historically, in this country, white people are the most racist group of people. There's no way to argue that. The only way that you could fucking make a defense for white people not being the most racist group of people in this country is there's nothing. You're fucking racist if you don't think that white people are, again, historically and categorically in many different contexts racist. I'm not sitting here saying that, oh, every single white person that's ever been born is racist. That's not what I'm saying, okay? But you cannot make the argument that white people are not racist. Why did we have stuff like segregation? Why were black people enslaved? Why did we have to pass amendments that allowed black people the right to vote? Why did we have to pass the Civil Rights Act? Why did we have to do that if white people aren't racist? Explain that, Michael. Can you explain that to me?
White people are the least racist people in the world.
And he provides no evidence. He provides zero evidence, makes a claim that, again, is completely unsubstantiated in any and every single context you put it in. It doesn't matter where you go. Any type of research or Googling or looking through anything that's not a fucking insane conservative media will tell you the truth that, again, White people are historically racist.
And in the United States, the white people are pretty much the only victims of formal de jure systemic racism.
No, there's no proof of that. There's no proof of white people being victims of systemic racism in this country. There's literally no way anyone can make that argument. Zero.
Asians get lumped in a little bit too, but white people, and Asians to some degree, are the only group where you can say, okay, you're white, we're going to discriminate against you for the purposes of college admissions.
No. Okay, so he says that we're going to discriminate against you for the purpose of college admissions if you're white. This is not true. Very, very not true. In fact, if you follow the science, follow the research, look at the facts don't care about your feelings, Michael, then you would be able to tell, and this is the this is AmericanProgress.org, the Center for American Progress. They said that there are very real, very tangible racial disparities when it comes to colleges, and they did a lot of research. They looked at a lot of different research when they wrote this article, and they pretty much found, using federal data, that Black and Hispanic graduates are far more likely to have attended for-profit colleges and less likely to have attended four-year public or nonprofit institutions. Black and Hispanic graduates also generally have attended institutions that have less money to spend on offering a quality education, and they are significantly underrepresented in important fields such as engineering and education, mathematics and statistics, and the physical sciences. Okay, so if we're going to look at the actual evidence, what Michael is saying, again, is 100% wrong. It's not right. He's just lying about it. He doesn't show you anything. He just talks. And, you know, if we're going to, again, if you're just going to take every single thing that's ever been said at face value and never do any more research, then, you know, Michael, yeah, I mean, I guess, again, you know, if your spoken word makes something true, even if it's not, then yeah, Michael's right. He's totally right here. But, you know, that's not how we live life.
The purposes of hiring, for the purposes
of hiring. So let's do that one too. Michael says that for the purposes of hiring, white people are discriminated against. You know, the black person or the Hispanic person, they're more likely to get the job because of their race compared to the white person. This isn't true. Again, this is just a blatantly false claim. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, these are statistics from 2020, but they really have not changed over the past few years. The majority of the labor force is white people. 77% of the labor force was white in 2020. 77%. That is more than 3/4 of the entire workforce white. Blacks and Asians constituted an additional 13% and 6%, respectively. There are 230 something million white people in this country. There's only 334 million people in the country. Okay? So, not true, but we have other statistics here, and these are statistics that I went over very recently in another video that I made. And this is research and data analysis from the Committee for Better Banks, which found that diversity and inclusion when it comes to bank jobs just doesn't really exist. And they've examined a bunch of huge banks: Capital One, TD Bank, JP Morgan, Bank of America, and also Citibank. And they found that the odds of advancement for Black and Latino employees to a senior management or executive position at banks where data was available were pretty much that Black employees and Latino employees' advancement to a senior management position at all of these banks or an executive position compared to their white colleagues was at Capital One 8%, TD Bank 10%, JP Morgan 15%, 23%, Bank of America for Blacks and Latinos. And you know, you keep going down the list, the chance of a Black employee being in an entry-level position compared to their white colleagues at Citibank 230%, 404% chance that a Latino employee being in an entry-level position compared to their white colleagues at TD Bank. It just gets worse the farther you go down this list of data. Okay, so that's just two examples of what Michael said that aren't right. And I know that was just for banks, but again, these racial disparities, they don't just exist in the banking field. They exist everywhere. This is what systemic racism is. Jesus, I can't talk today.
Of whatever, on the basis of your race. So the racism charge generally falls flat.
No.
The racism charge against Trump definitely falls flat, and they don't have any other charge. So what are they going to do? What are they going to say? Are they even going to indict him anymore? The media, the liberal media, are turning on the indictment itself, okay, because they've got nothing.
So I guess this whole clip was him responding to someone that asked a question about like Trump and them being racist against Trump because the district attorney Alvin Bragg in Manhattan, who's heading up the Trump Stormy Daniels case, is black. So I guess someone probably was like, well, they're racist against Trump, but again, that's not true. And he also says, are they even going to indict him anymore? And he's like, the media is turning on the indictment. Once again, Trump is the one who said he was going to get arrested. Trump is the one who said he was going to get indicted. No one else came out and said that except for Trump. So if we're going to sit here and be like, blah, 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 blame Trump. He lied. Trump literally only said he was going to be indicted and get arrested so he could make some money off of it. And he did make money off of it. He sold a fuck ton of merchandise right after he announced that he was going to get arrested and he might possibly be indicted. And that's what he does. He uses these controversies to literally make money. And it's smart. And people like Michael Knowles and these right-wingers, they just fuel that. And I don't even think, I mean, they definitely know what they're doing, but, they're not going to sit there and tell you. And they're not going to, that would expose their grift. But that's going to be it for the video. If you guys like the video, please hit the like button. It helps me out so much. If you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button, press that little bell, turn on all notifications so you guys never miss an upload.